Modin my members agus tá fáilte romh a lig. We do have a quorum agus buaithlam fáilte chur ribh go dtí an Bally Starwell Dungannon here in Bally You're all very welcome to Dungannon for this morning's meeting of the Committee for Communities. This is the first committee meeting that we have held outside Parliament buildings, and we are very privileged here, I think, to be today in First Steps Women's Centre in Dungannon, a centre that provides a very unique and a very valuable service here in the town of Dungannon, in the South Tyrone area, and indeed much wider. So I think it's a really appropriate venue for our meeting, and I want to thank First Steps Centre for the way they have facilitated us, and also to the teams within the Assembly who have set up all the equipment and that. Today's meeting will be audio broadcast only, so while we can't be viewed live, we are being heard live this morning. I would ask anyone in the public gallery that mobile phones are turned off. Mobile tablet devices can be used, however, through a Wi-Fi connection, and all devices should be muted. No recordings or photographs to be taken, and can I remind members about the protocols regarding the use of electronic devices. Please switch all mobile devices to airplane mode and activate Wi-Fi connection. Please use tablet devices discreetly and in a way which does not interfere with the proceedings. So, Clerk, have we any apologies this morning?
Morris Bradley.
Okay, thank you. Members aware of any other apologies?
Apologies from Shan for lateness.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, moving on to agenda item 2 then. So just by way of update to the committee, I attended, as did Kelly and Brian, a community wealth building event in the Long Gallery on Tuesday, run by Development Trust CNI. DTNI work in partnership across local and central government at all levels to develop mutual interests associated with community asset transfer, community planning, community rights and local economic development. I think that was a really useful session. I know we all contributed to it, but I think it is an area that there is significant potential in. We're a bit behind the curve in terms of other regions and other areas, and I think it's something that we could usefully develop. So any thoughts, Kelly or Brian, in terms of the event? Go ahead, Kelly.
I think what it has highlighted for me is that perhaps we should be reaching out to our Minister. There needs to be an asset register recorded for all the departments, and if we knew what that was, then there's potential for asset transfer to be made to our communities where they can take things forward. There have been very successful programmes have taken place with asset transfer. For instance, I think of Bangor Courthouse, and the asset transfer there means that there's now a new vibrant theatre in that space. And has brought life back to part of that of Bangor town. So if there's any way we could encourage our Minister to talk to other executive colleagues and have that asset register updated, then that will give communities the opportunity to identify resources that they could then use in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's useful. Members content with reaction to that suggestion? Brian?
What I attended of the event, I thought was positive. There was a good interaction and comments made. As I said at the event, I think the whole approach of community wealth building and community asset transfer is becoming mainstream. You know, that it is widely recognised now. But also not just to be fixated on one model. You know, it's looking at what is the best option. Is it a full transfer of an asset, or is it an exclusive lease, or there's different models that can be brought to bear. But it's important. We're in a community space this morning, you know, and the importance of that to the community in terms of empowerment and ownership, but also delivery of programmes, you know, benefit. So, you know, I've had previous engagement with DTNI, and I welcome their involvement in projects that I'm involved in. So I thought it was a positive event.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members. The other thing that I wanted to draw attention to is I attended a Crack Theatre and spoke at a Crack Theatre event on Tuesday evening. The Minister was also at that event. So Crack Theatre is a local Island company here. A fantastic initiative, actually, in that they brought together a group of young people and they set them the task of writing a play, performing, putting on to every element of the play themselves. So they directed it, they produced it, they choreographed it, they wrote it, and they performed it. They covered really very, I thought, thought-provokingly a whole range of arts, including dance, music, play, literature. They covered everything, and they made the point very, very clearly that art and culture is such a rich and a vibrant thread in our society that absolutely must be cherished and protected, and indeed resourced. It's something that cannot simply be let sit. We benefit from a very rich culture, and it adds colour and vibrancy and so many of the other things to our existence, that I think it's a point really strongly made. So I want to congratulate all of the young people who done it and their mentors who put the show on, and everyone who attended and enjoyed the show on Tuesday evening. Okay, so members, I now then go on ahead to proceed to the draft minutes. So,
Chair, sorry to interrupt. Do we have the Wi-Fi? Sorry, I don't have the details.
Yeah, it is. It is SWC
is it on
guest, and it's visitor 123,
Right.
all lowercase. All lowercase. Yeah.
Is that written down there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll bring it over.
Thank you. So, members, I'll refer you then to the draft minutes from the meeting on the 2nd of May, which are page 6 there of your meeting pack.
Do you mind me?
Yes, please do.
Are members content to agree the minutes of 2nd of May as drafted?
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you, members. Agenda item 4, matters arising. You've been provided, members, there at page 14 on your pack with a reply from NIFA in relation to voluntary house sales by housing associations and the number of housing association planning applications rejected because of objections by NI Water. Do members have any comments in relation to that item, or content to note for now?
Content to
Content to note, yeah, thank you. At page 15, members, you've been provided with a copy of emails in relation to hybrid working arrangements for people working for the department. When this was raised initially, we had agreed Sean would provide the information for distribution so the committee could consider. So, members, any comments in relation to this item? Or any content to note? Content to note, thank you. Moving on then to agenda item 5, and this is our first substantive briefing then this morning by First Steps Women's Centre. So, members, do you have a copy of First Steps briefing paper there at page 19? And we'll just wait a minute now to get Michael and Natalia into the room.
To use the screen behind. Does Michael need to use the screen behind?
So I'd now like to welcome to the meeting this morning Michael McGoldrick, who is Chief Executive of First Steps Women's Centre here. And Michael, we're very grateful that you provided your facilities this morning to allow the meeting to take place here in Dungannon. We're also joined by Natalia Snitko, and Natalia is a student and a participant here in the activities of First Steps Women's Centre. So you're very welcome to Fulcher Road also, Natalia.
Thank you.
So Michael, thank you for agreeing to host the meeting today. It's great for us to get an opportunity to meet outside of Parliament buildings, and I think as the department, as the community committee for communities, this is an exemplary location, given your involvement with so many of our local communities and particular challenges and vulnerabilities that those communities and women in particular face. So, if you're ready, Michael, then I'll invite you to go ahead and brief the committee.
It's my pleasure to welcome the Committee for the Department of Communities here to First Steps Women's Centre in Dungannon. This centre was renovated 6 years ago. It got a massive facelift thanks to a grant from the lottery under the Spaces and Places programme of £350,000. It also was given funding through the Neighbourhood Renewal Programme for the DFC, because this building actually in the postcode, we are in the neighbourhood renewal area, so we're grateful for that, and a number of other private foundations contributed towards the capital programme, and it has meant that the centre has been able to sustain and improve and develop what it does. Now, I'm going to have to do the PowerPoint myself, so you have to forgive me for this, but this is where we are in the community and voluntary sector. I want you to look at this quote and take it in. I was broken, and First Steps Women's Centre put me back together again, helped put me back together again. That was taken in December 2022 from an external evaluation. We brought in a consultant to do an evaluation of the centre and what we do. We felt we kind of knew what we were about, but we wanted to give an objective analysis of all of the programmes that the centre provides. And this was one of the quotes that stood out for the evaluator, for the consultant. And I start with that because we're going to go through a few stories, and you'll see how First Steps Women's Centre, in all that it does, has helped people, helped women help themselves to get on the second and third and fourth step of their lives. So I'll just click the next one. Yeah. We support, empower and educate women. So we do. That's what we do. We support, empower and educate women. We provide the education. We provide, they have the hunger that they come here. And we support them in a number of ways. So we do. We support them through childcare, through transport, through the times that we have the courses at. 9:45 is our start time, or 12:30. If you have young children out to primary school, out to secondary school, you can't be here for 9 o'clock, 9:15. We tried that, so we have amended it. Our retention figures are 85% plus because we work with the needs of the women. So we do. So this is a quick snapshot, an info picture, and thanks to Olivia Turley for developing this for us. The support services on the left-hand side, counselling, free on-site childcare. 95% of our 99 children this year were from 14 different nationalities. We have 3 staff that are bilingual or trilingual. We have a Lithuanian staff member who speaks English, Russian, and Lithuanian. We have a Syrian lady who speaks Arabic, and we have a Portuguese staff member as well. And we have 2 other staff. Highly significant in supporting the work and ensuring the retention and removing the barriers that women, mostly women, experience. So we have a free minibus. I'm not sure if it was parked outside, but Franco picks them up, door-to-door service. Age range of people that use a minibus is like from 3 months old, they come with their mothers, to 84-year-old. A lady called Phyllis, who's 84, and Franco actually brings her into the centre, puts her in the lift and goes up with her in the lift and brings her into her class. She was widowed 5 or 6 years ago, and her daughter brought her here to the centre. And her daughter had been here and gained some qualifications to get employment. We have an on-site counselling, which is run every Thursday. We have 2 counsellors on site, and that's a big service. Over the last year, we've had 103 sessions provided, mostly with the women within the centre. And we have a hygiene bank as well. We supply sanitary shampoos, baby nappies, stuff like that there. I'll go through all the other information as I go through the presentation. That's just the well-being. Well-being, our well-being is the biggest area, particularly since COVID. We've had 283 women in over 450 places. We've provided 42 different courses in well-being alone this year, from April to March. Some of them have been run on outreach in Matterfeld, in Granaghan. Is it Granaghan? There's a place called Granaghan Women's. Yeah, and mostly here. And they range. They're mostly done in this room. They range from the physical to the emotional, and to sort of areas to build capacity, build resilience, So this is the well-being room here. The tables that you're sitting on, they could be flipped, put in, and we do yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi as well. So there's quite an array, and there's quite a demand for our programs. If we had more money and more time, more space, we could do more. But we're really happy with the capacity. We're running at more than 100% capacity at the minute with the demand. And there has definitely been a surge since the end of COVID. We've done research, we've done external evaluations, we've done online, in-depth consultations and surveys, and they've all come back. The biggest area is well-being, employability, poverty, counselling. And we meet all of them, so we do. Life skills. About 50% of the women that come here were not born and don't speak the language here. We have 21 to 22 different nationalities in the centre. I was looking at an annual report yesterday for the ESOL. Life skills is ESOL, English for speakers of other language, literacy, numeracy, financial stuff as well. Biggest Mid-Ulster has had a massive influx of migrant people coming in to work in the meat poultry factories, and then they're moving on. And we would have women that work in Moy Park, Dungannon, Linden Foods that come here to learn English. We run 4 accredited English classes twice a week, between 2 and 3 hours. 90% plus of our childcare are migrant children. That's why we have the bilingual childcare staff. So it's quite a substantial operation. The pass rate for ESOL is between 80 and 85%. So it is. So we have the tutors that we have. We poach them from the college. So and they come here. So they do, and they run 2 to 3 hours twice a week. So we have like Ukrainian, Afghan, Kurdish, Syrian, Eastern European ones, Lithuanian, Estonian, Ukrainian, Portuguese, East Timor. East Timor would be the biggest number of women that come to the centre. Employability. This is our newest one here. We have Olivia at the back. REAP project. It's an accelerator program, Rural Employment Accelerator program. And in the past 8 months from August, Olivia has recruited over 70 women and put 17 women into employment, all economically inactive, and about 7 or 8 into volunteering as well, and we're recruiting more volunteers as well. So it's a service that there's a demand for it, but the way we do it is we work with the women. We're not coercing or forcing them into employment. We're making it work for them. And if it works for them, it's going to work for the economy. So the bigger picture is everybody will win. There's no point in shoehorning a woman into a job just to meet a target. We don't do that. And women trust us. We have a centre here where the women would sit down with the staff out in the social area for tea and coffee. We're very much a family-friendly centre and very flat structure. I'm the chief executive. Below me is really all the other staff, and I consider them all equal and consider them all part of the team. So we do. Culture. This is kind of my area. We developed this with the executive office. We got funding from the executive office, and Colin and a number of other politicians from all across. And we've had the Orange Order in here as well. We run a program called the Human Library. It's a cultural program. We run an event where people, migrant people and local people, become human books. So what do you do in a library? You borrow people, or you borrow books. So our Human Library is we borrow people. And this event, Colin has sponsored it for the 8th of October. We're going to run an event in the Long Gallery, and I would be delighted if you were there, because the pictures that you see around you, the many different age groups, the many different nationalities, many of them will be going to Stormont, and they would be delighted for the civil public servants, the MLAs, the politicians to come and meet and spend 20 minutes around a table finding out why they're here, asking them questions. It's a bit like speed dating. You do it for 15, 20 minutes, and then you move around another table. And it's been very successful. It's broken down barriers. It's helped explain things, and perhaps across the province here, it's a way where there's areas sort of that are stress points, where there's ignorance, where there's racial prejudice, that something like this here, this model could be used. When you sit face to face with a person, you humanise that person, and that's what we're about. As a centre, we're pivotal in the Mid-Ulster area for the sort of tackling prejudice and opening up. Very interested, very dynamic, but very serious in the background of it, so it is. I'm going to play, this is Natasha as well, but her spelling of her name is Natalia, but this is another Natasha. I'm going to play this. It's her testimony. Remember the first part, the first quote that I showed? I'm just going to play this and let her words speak for themselves.
My name is Natasha Brown. I am 29 years old. I first heard about this centre and how social workers had came involved was obviously due to domestic violence from my children's father. I was in a really, really bad state to the point where I was at a part of my life where I generally didn't think that I could go on any longer. I actually had walked into the centre and had sort of opened up a wee bit about my story and what sort of courses there was to try and help me with my own mental health and stuff, to try and just gain my self-confidence back. The person I was when I came in through this centre had no confidence, had lacked self-esteem, had lacked actually the actual ability to think that going any further in life there was no other way out of where my head was actually generally at that point. This centre offers an awful wide range of different topics and courses. If you're stuck on what it is that you need, it is safe enough to actually come in, tell them how it is you're feeling, what it is, what course they think for you is going to meet your needs. So I have seen a dramatic change in myself. It has transformed an awful lot. It has transformed an awful lot of way of my thinking. I feel like I'm empowered again. I feel that I am in control of the situation now, than whereas I felt before I actually came here, I felt like somebody who was totally so weak. The way I described myself actually was damaged goods. I no longer think of myself as damaged goods.
I'm calling it. Can we call the second Natasha up? Do you want to come up to the front? Come on.
No, well, actually, you join Natasha down here, and Natasha, you go ahead from where you are there, please. Yes, thank you. And apologies. Yeah, go ahead. So go ahead, Natasha. I've had a quick look at your story, and I know it's actually pretty harrowing. And I just want to say, it's great that you have found a place of safety now, and it's great that the centre here has provided you with that support. But I'll go ahead over to yourself, Natasha, so please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I will read because I'm very nervous. Sorry. My name is Natasha. I was born and raised in the city of Mariupol, Ukraine. I graduated from the university and received a higher education with a degree in accounting and audition. From the age of 18, I worked in a bank. I started as a cashier and ended up as a leading customer service manager. When I gave birth my son, I was on maternity leave, which never ended for me. The war had begun. It was a terrible time, which very painful for me to remember. In the first days of the war, I couldn't even think that could happen. I believed that all this would end soon and my family was not in danger. So we calmly waited and did not go anywhere. But there were 9 days later, after the war started, our house was shot by firing, and 3 shells flew straight into our apartment when we stay all together, my mom, my son, and me. This happened on March 4th, 2022, and this is a day I will never forget. It was our common second birthday, I think so. Then everything happened as even like a dream. I don't know how it to say. I can hardly remember how we even survived. We lived in the basement. We had no food, no water. I didn't even have any clothes to change for my child, who was just 3.5, and that day. There are very scary memories. All this hell lasted exactly months until we managed and we come back in Ukraine, because our city was like a Russian territory occupation. The path was very long and hard and difficult. We were humiliated. We were shot at. We were held hostage. And April 29th, we arrived here in Northern Ireland under the Home for Ukraine program. And we are very happy to be in such a wonderful country and with kind and very lovely people. I learned about First Step Women Center from leaflet. I don't even remember who gave me it, but I immediately applied for the English course, of course, because when I arrived, I have no English, just few words. And I was surprised by the very kind people here in the center. I have never met such people before. I have been here for the last 2 years, and here is my family. I want to come here again and again. It's not only a training for me, it's a place where people listen to me, give me advice, help me with any matters, and of course look after my child and teach me. Thanks Women's Center and DREAM project, I'm now working. I have a wonderful position that I couldn't even dream of the 2 years. During these 2 years at the center, I attended and completed a lot of courses, start from English and I don't know, first aid kit, and I very like and enjoy this time here. The center for me is like a simply priceless. It should only flourish and help women like me to believe in themselves and found their truth path. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Natasha. That is indeed, despite, you've said it out very calmly, but it's a horrendous story, and really it's unimaginable almost that families would have to go through that journey. But we're delighted that you've arrived at a safe place. But Michael, do you want to go ahead and complete
just 2 slides. This is the final slide of it starts where we started it. I was broken, and the First Steps Women's Centre helped put me back together again. In any given year, we have between 250 and 350 women attending the centre. I think even this year, we haven't got our stats in for this year, but it'll be more. 22 different nationalities, all coming with different issues, but all under one banner where they want to do better, they want support, and then they support themselves and then they support others. So we build on their strengths, and we help them find or regain their strengths. We're not the ones that solve their problems. We're the ones that maybe illuminate the solutions for them. And the old community development adage, you give a person or a man or a woman a fish and they'll eat for a day. If you teach them to fish, they'll eat for the rest of their lives. But each journey can be different in length of times. Some people can get it and recover within a matter of weeks, but for some people they never recover. And sometimes and often that's not recognised. When we're applying for funding, you have to have this outcome-based assessment and so many percentages, but every person that comes in here is a human being. This is what it's about. I have this up on my wall. We want to do right for every woman that comes in here. We want to seek justice for them. Many are oppressed in domestic violence relationships. Many are single parents. Some are widowed.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Is this your mom? Yes. She left in
Okay.
was as well.
Thank you, Michael. And that's a very impassioned and passionate and committed presentation, and I think that comes across in all of the work that you do here in the centre and the empowerment that. And I have to say, from knowing the work you do as a community, as a constituency, MLA, that element of practical, pragmatic, person-centred support, I think, is what is really significant about what you do. The figures speak for themselves in terms of 63 children registered in childcare, 9 nationalities in the creche, 432 women using the minibus, and 103 women using the counselling services. Those figures, and I know they're probably out of date and probably increasing as we go on. So I suppose in terms of, before I come to members' questions, the first two that strike me is, again, going back to the pragmatic support in giving people pragmatic help to get back on their journey, whatever that may be. And the executive as a whole has prioritised childcare as a critical part of that. And I know you provide significant childcare, probably in very challenging circumstances. But in terms of the funding model for that, or as a community group where you're trying to do that along with other things, how do you find that situation, or how do you manage that?
Well, we're very grateful as a centre that the Department for Communities do provide funding for childcare under the Women's Centres Childcare Fund. The struggle for ourselves is basically there's two things: the amount that funding we receive and the difference. The cost of running it is probably between £67,000 and £70,000 to run it. The funding we receive from the department is about £37,000. It's part of we're part of a women's support. Women's centres, there's about 15 women's centres receive funding under this model, and we're one of the poorer ones with it. The amount of money we get, I'm aware of some centres that get £100,000 more than we get. And we're not looking that much, but it is a struggle. You're juggling. I understand the department's looking at changing the model, but I'm not sure what it looks like. Our targets, we have blown our targets out of the water for 23-24 column. I think our targets were over 3,000 something places, and we've hit 5,000. You count a place, it's per session per day, and so we've way over that, 50% over it and more. And the demand is there. There's only really 3 centres. In fact, there's only 2 that receive this funding across west of the Ban, Women's Centre Derry and ourselves. There's no other women's centres west of here that receive this funding, so we're kind of out on our own. The rest of them are east of the Ban in geographical terms. But Dungannon is unique, Mid-Ulster is unique in outside of Belfast. It has a fastest growing population, the highest number of people living that don't speak English as a first language. So we have all of these, and we try to make the creche through the bilingual staff as welcoming as possible. And they have different cultures, different needs. We have Muslim, we have Christian, Jehovah's Witness, all sorts. And the creche is run. It's registered through the Health Trust, the Southern Health Trust, and it's a big operation. So.
Okay, thank you. And I guess critical to all the other parts of it. If women don't have that childcare support, they're unable to engage in the ESOL or the computer skills that you train, or even take part in the counselling. So, crucial element. The other element that strikes me as crucial in terms of making this a success, and this is an issue that comes up time and time again, is transport. So, again, if you can't get to, and often the challenges that people face, transport is one of the first barriers they face. So in terms of your transport arrangements, how does that operate, and how critical is that to everything else that happens?
If I had played Phyllis's story, Phyllis is the 84-year-old, but I wanted to cut it short. She's a widow, 84 years old, and she said that the transport is her lifeline. Yet, also this morning, our minibus driver, Franco, drove about 8 miles out of here, picked up a Hungarian lady and her son, Christian, and they come here. She comes to learn English twice a week, and he stays at the creche as well. There's numerous stories like that. Without our own transport, we got funding from Garfield Weston, which is a foundation trust in England. It was their centenary, quarter century event, and there was capital funding, and we were successful. To keep it running, transport is a major thing in this rural area, but it's our flexibility as bringing them home, bringing them in at the times we need them. It's multiple journeys. Franco's doing multiple journeys every day, and it's a lifeline. And then we don't have to rely on other taxis or community transport. We have it, and it helps retain the numbers here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I have at this point in time Kelly, Melissa, Ciara and Brian. So Kelly, go away, please.
Thank you very much, Michael and Natalia. I'm going to pronounce this wrong.
Thank you.
Dakuju. Thank you. I'm sure it's very badly spoken, but thank you very much. Very touching. And it highlights, Natalia, the type of work that this centre does so clearly. Michael, what I wanted to ask you was your funding mix. What is the mix comprised of? Is there a funding pot in that mix that you're concerned about? And if that concern comes real, what would that impact be to First Steps if that was lost?
The biggest impact on our organisation as a whole was the end of the European Social Fund. Just on practical terms, it was one fund and all the other funds fed into that, and it was quite easy to administer. I have a list of about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have now 8 major funds, and each one of them is individual. It has individual demands, and therefore our finance team have 8 different finance reports to present rather than 1 or 2, and so their work is fourfold increase, and it is a strain. The funding that I would be concerned about particularly would be the retention of the DFC funding. It's our core. Without that, nothing happened. Without that, we were unable to get match fund. We were unable to get the ESF funding 15 years ago when I first came here, and that was the core for us. And it's through credit to DSD, as it was known in social development, now DFC. Without that, the centre wouldn't be here. So that's number one, and I want to retain that. And I understand that the Exchequer has limited powers, but without that, there wouldn't be a women's centre. And that's without the childcare funding, because we're able to build on it. It's just retaining that and protecting that and ensuring that we get it when I understand it's been renewed or going to be reviewed and a new type. The other ones, the employability one comes from the levelling up in a partnership with the college. That's okay. It finishes next year. If there's an extension on a year, we would need that as well. You know, we have 5-year lottery funding for wellbeing. 1st of April this year we started the 2nd year of it, so it has another 4 years to run. So I'm actually thinking now about beyond that as well. But
can I just, sorry, Chair, just you brought up there about the Department for Communities funding. I'm very worried because the budget is not great for the incoming year, and the Minister does have very difficult decisions to take, and as a committee we will be reviewing that. What you achieve here with Natalia and the other women who are getting the support, that social return investment is invaluable. So for the Department for Communities money, you say it opens doors for other funding. But what's that social return investment? So for every £1 that the Department for Communities give you, do you have a figure on what that actually is value to the community?
well, we get about £97,000 a year between the two funds from DFC, and our annual budget's anywhere between 450 and 500,000. That's basically pounds, shilling, and pence.
Yeah.
Their social return on investment is, as Robert Kennedy once said, the things you measure are not the things that are important. It's the things that you're unable to measure or unable to look forward to. I mean, the story there that we played in the audio tape, and I spoke to Colm about this before, not off the record, but outside this meeting. That lady had 4 young children, and she contemplating not being here, and you can read between the lines, and she's not afraid to say it. So what is the impact and the cost in that? And we see that many times here. In so many ways, I think we're primary health care or primary care, but we're not labelled as that and not designated as that. We have a strong team here, strong commitment. We have a core volunteers now, and Natasha's now a volunteer here as well. So it's quite difficult to quantify the impact of something when the outcomes that you want to see, sometimes you don't know the full story. You actually don't know everybody's individual benefits they get out of it. It's only the ones that come here. So I would say the social return on investment here is massive, and also geographically west of the band, even south of here, there's nothing in Armagh or Newry like this. Matterfeld it has a small training, and Women's Centre Derry is the other ones. I'm not sure if I've answered it, but I feel that our return on investment is exponential with the funding that we get.
It sounds like it's fivefold that actually the return, but as you say, that anecdotal evidence of the care, support and love that's given to those women and the advances that they make for themselves through this is incredible. Thank you very much. I'll not hold up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And Melissa,
Buíochas faoine de ráiteas Michael, thank you Michael for your statement. Agus bhí sé deachar géiste leis the scale here, and it's difficult listening to your own story, Natalia. It's bringing us home to us again to just the consequences and the implications of the war in Ukraine, but in particular too for refugees who are now coming to Ireland, and I'm so glad to hear that our people have made you so welcome here in Ireland as well, because we take great pride in the land of the Céad Míle Fáilte, the land of the 100,000 welcomes. So that isn't the story throughout Ireland now at the present time. There's many difficulties there for communities and that as well too, but I'm glad on me that in Dungannon that you've received and your family that welcome. And I'm very aware too that in the case of your centre that you're providing a safe haven in so many respects, not just for refugees but for women who are our own refugees in our own country whenever they're faced with many of the difficulties and problems that they might have. And just Michael, and you've alluded to this on a number of different occasions, that you are funded less generously than I feel other maybe providers of the same service. And I'm sure it's nothing to do with, we'll say, the efficiency of how you apply to different funds and all the rest, but what do you primarily see has been the block in there that it's not allowing you to be funded at the same rate or level as, let's say, some of these other providers?
Simple answer is the status quo of what we get vis-a-vis other women's centres. It's been in place long. I'm here 17 years, even before me, so nothing has changed. But I understand the department have looked at that and are trying to change the model. So unless the model changes, we can't get any other funding, and the rigidity of the funding as well. We get £37,000 for childcare. There's only less than 13,000 for wages, and it's been less than 13,000 for wages for the last 10, 12 years. And we asked, could we take some of the running costs and put it into the wages? Because we had lots of funding from elsewhere from running costs, and it was, no, you can't do that. So there's a rigidity in it, sometimes a lack of flexibility.
In what way can we, would say, as MLAs, help you?
Well, as an organisation, the department has recognised that financially we're robust. So that means we have all our ducks in a row. Everything is above board. We do our accounts every year to sign off. I feel that if we were given more flexibility, and organisations were given more flexibility on where they put the money, whether it was in wages or running costs, as long as they were robust, as long as they were above board, and that we're transparent, just to give us a bit more flexibility. So that would be a great deal, and I think I speak for a number of community organisations, and I don't mean a free-for-all. The department do come out and review our systems, they review everything we do, our governance procedures, and as long as organisations meet a criteria, I think they should give us more flexibility. ESF did that. ESF said, this is your target for the year, meet it, and whatever you need the resources for, whether it's tutors, staff, minibus, heat, light, and it worked.
And there's no guarantee that the ESF will be replicated, we'll say, on the present system.
Gormagh, Melissa, August, Tommy, Gormagh, Kira, finish.
Thank you. And first and foremost, obviously commend Michael and for your presentation today, and obviously the compassion with it, and obviously it's amazing work that you are doing, and for all your team here and your volunteers. First and foremost, I think on behalf of all of us in the committee, to commend the fantastic work that you are doing, and likewise for Natalie, thank you for your presentation. I think just hearing the lived experience and the impact that it's had is far more impactful than any report. So I'd like to thank yourself, and as well as Natasha, who we heard from today as well. It was really, really powerful. I'm conscious that I would be familiar based on my experience working in the community sector, so I really, really know, and I can understand how you're feeling at this moment in time, because you can see the value of what a small amount of money can actually do and make such a huge difference to the lives of individuals. And obviously the impact it has on staff, and it particularly given, obviously, as you mentioned, it's the fixed amount this past 10, 12 years regarding all funding. It's about cuts, it's about efficiencies, and you've been doing, as you say, as you mentioned, the social impact that it's had. I would like to maybe hear probably two things. One is where you're at with regarding how your staff are feeling, because I know staff are passionate about their work and want to come in every day, but they can't continue with regards to having a wage that hasn't changed since 09-010. So I'd love to hear the impact it's having on your staff, and then likewise, which could have a massive impact then on the services you provide. And then basically secondly, obviously community wealth building. We had community asset transfer, and we now have community wealth building, which I think is another critical way of how we can raise the importance of supporting our local communities, and how we can look at finances differently and use finances differently to support our neighbours and communities and create a more just society. So I would love to hear your opinion just on community wealth building as well, so thank you. So staff and...
Yeah. I'm going to answer the second question first.
Yeah.
I don't know an awful lot about community wealth building at the minute, so apologies about that. One thing that we have been looking at is the social value. When in public sector tenders, we've registered for that, and we've had agent organisations that are involved in tenders contact us. That's only really developed over the last 3-4 months since February. But the other one I'm not really sure of that. In relation to staff, we have 13 staff here, and we have one as and when crash member who comes in like a floater, but we have 13 staff on our books. The maximum number of hours any one of the staff are paid for is 30.5 hours per week. There's nobody on more than 30.5 hours a week. Some are on 16, some on 24, some on 28, and some on 30. The one thing that we pride ourselves in First Steps Women's Centre is no one is on minimum wage. Okay. No one. We always try to head above it, but that has been a struggle and a strain. The cost of living, I mean, the minimum wage is £11.44. I think our minimum is £12. Why do we do that? Because we feel that it's not. It's more that we want to. It's not lip service. I don't want to pay lip service. I want to value staff as best I can, and it's my role. And I had a colleague who we lost, a project manager under ESF, and she was great. It was our role then to identify funding, and if you have a successful staff team, a strong, committed staff team, you can do a lot of work. And you heard the evidence there today. And my project manager once said to me, basically, if you build it, they'll come. Money comes to money, but money only comes to places where they feel a commitment and a professionalism, and where there's a strong return of investment. That's the finance side of it. You alluded to a very good question there, Kathy, about our staff. Our staff are maxed out. They're reaching a critical stage. We lost 5 staff last year under ESF. 5. We brought in 2 more when we got the funding from DLUC, the Levelling Up Department for Levelling Up. But I would love to give our staff more hours to work. But I've actually had a meeting yesterday, and I've had to say to some staff, you need to hold back. And the demand is there to do more, but I have had to say, but if you're not here, we can't do anything. And it is. The staff are 100% committed. Our retention levels are, nobody really leaves here. Our cleaner's here longer than me, and I'm here 17 years. And she's from Lithuania. She's fantastic. That's why this place is so clean. But when she's off, the staff will clean. They'll go round the toilets. They'll do the hoovering and stuff like that. We have really committed staff. Probably like 95, 99% of most community and voluntary sector organisations. But the consensus is at the minute that they're maxed out almost, I would say.
Okay, thank you, and Brian.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And first of all, it's always good for me as an MLA to get out west of the ban. So thank you for arranging the visit today. And I will feel I know Dungannon a bit better after our visit today. So thank you, Michael, for all your presentation to us and the work you do here. And is it Natasha or Natalia? How do you prefer you? Either. Look, thank you for sharing your story with us and how your life was uprooted by the horror of war. But I'm glad at least that you have found a place of safety here, and I hope you will continue to flourish here, and you will be helping other people even by telling your story. And so thank you for the contribution you're making to our country and to your local community here. So I have 3 particular questions, just hopefully quite brief. I'm interested in all what you were saying, Michael, about the economic opportunities, which has drawn people, employment opportunities in the area. Has Brexit affected that, or are people still coming for the work opportunities, or has there been a particular impact of that? Secondly, did you mention East Timor as a particular? So is that again just economic, or is that due to conflict? I know there has been. I'm not sure. Is it settled down in that territory? But I know it used to be in our news bulletins more often. And thirdly, what's your policy on men? Do you allow men to participate in the programmes, or is it kept as a particular space, for women? So, because I know other women's centres, do they allow men to participate in some of the training opportunities and so on?
At the minute, we don't.
Right.
We don't.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't allow men. We're a First Steps Women's Centre, so all the funding, even in our constitution, it's women only.
Yeah.
In our board, it's implied rather than explicitly stated. female board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No.
we've had co-ed programs here. We've hired out the rooms, and like it's not like I've been to one or two centres where men can't even cross the door, including myself. But that was like 15 years ago. No, but no, we don't.
Okay.
It's not that I wouldn't like to say that we don't allow it. It's not in our constitution provide what we do. There is a men's organisation around the corner in Scott Street, Men's Reach, very good. It's body, mind, and soul, and they would be smaller. They've only started, but they looked at our model a lot. In relation to East Timor. East Timorese are Portuguese nationality. They've got Portuguese citizenship, so they've all come here for economic reasons. The war was over 20, 25 years ago or more. That was, I think, with Indonesia. So that. And your third question, Brian, was on employability.
Well, on whether Brexit has impacted
Brexit.
people are coming here for work opportunities,
Yeah,
like in poultry and so on.
they're still coming.
Yeah.
I understand now there's a bigger influx from outside of Europe now, Philippines, Africa. We've had women come here from Ghana, Nigeria, Filipino, whose husbands have been employed. The irony behind Brexit, for me and for ESOL, our English programs, there's been a massive increase in the number of women that are here. Have come to say we thought our ESOL programs would shrink. They actually aren't. We could run more ESOL programs, but they really want to learn English here. The women really want to learn English so they can be independent, so they can have a conversation without an interpreter. So that, particularly around employability stuff, if they want a job, and that's what drives them. But also the social part of it. If sometimes you have the third generation, the grandmother that comes over with the son and his daughter-in-law, and they're looking after the children. They're the sort of ones that don't pick up English as quick, but we pick them up then as well, because they're stuck in the house.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thank you. We're over time now, but there has been a huge amount of value there, and I want to thank you both, Natasha and yourself, Michael, again. I actually am very struck by the pictures that surround us here in terms of how much they capture around the diversity and the vibrancy. And what stands out from even pictures is hope and positivity, and absolutely that diversity. Every one of those pictures says more than 1,000 words, in my opinion.
Is that your mum, that place? Lovely. It's a beautiful pic.
Over now with you here, Natasha, as well, yeah, and learning English.
She's in the class now.
Very good.
So listen, Michael, thank you for that. We will continue on with the rest of our business. I think members, it would be useful to write to ask for an update on that new model that the department are looking at. Yes. And also in relation to the wages, while I get the idea of flexibility, it strikes me that you're almost robbing Peter to pay Paul. A freeze on wages like that is not sustainable. So I think that's something else that we should inquire about. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, it was one I was going to bring up after the presentation. We know that the previous Minister had committed to any organisations that were under contract or grant would be receiving, I think it was the living wage that Deirdre had talked about at that stage.
They have increased it. They have made an award, but that fund for childcare is only for one post, and at the minute it barely pays for. That's your amount, and everything else below it is for running costs. We're not allowed to put money from the rent into it. Like, they give us twice as much for rent as for wages, and
But that's what I was going to ask, if we could ask the department where grants and contracts are being offered. Is there a stipulation and a clarification in the department's understanding that living wage will be paid as part of that role?
Yeah, okay, members content with that? Yeah. Michael and Natasha, thank you very much.
I've just left some annual reports and some leaflets.
Some light reading. Pardon?
Yeah.
Afterwards, Colin?
We'll go through this item of business, we'll go into the closed session, and then we'll do the photograph then. So I'll just go through a couple more agenda items here, members, before we go into closed. So agenda item 6 there is correspondence. I refer members to the correspondence memo at page 30 of your meeting packs. Do members have any comments in relation to any of the items of correspondence? Kelly?
Yes, could I go to 6.2, please? It's the advice NI letter that we've received on page 31. As an outcome of this is bugging me, and has been bugging me, to be honest, for the last year. We are well into move to universal credit at the moment, but we still don't have move on people who are on universal credit having the same ability as they would do if they lived in England, Scotland or Wales to access support for travel costs to health, free sight tests and hearing tests. I know it's outside of our Minister's remit, so could I ask, on the back of the Advice NI letter, if we can write to the Minister for Health to ask what is the update on the progression of the change to the, let me read it out, Travelling Expense and Remission of Charge Regulations Northern Ireland 2004. That piece of legislation can only be updated by Health, and that piece of legislation, because it's not being updated, requires all of those people to know to fill out an HC1 form to be able to get free costs covered. It's causing harm, it's causing expense. I've got umpteen opticians, and because of my hearing, I'm contacted by a lot of people who do audiology. The number of people who don't know that the costs are covered or aren't being covered, and they're being left with bills for a tooth extraction, for instance, or a sight test. And I think on the back of this letter, we need to find out what is happening with that piece of legislation. It's been promised, but it's not been seen.
Okay, members content?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other comments on any other items, Andy?
Sure, just on that, maybe can we correspond with the Committee for Health as well? I think that letter has gone to them potentially as well, but I know the APG for visual impairment met this week, and this issue was raised as well, and it dates right back to our previous mandate with the committee. We were raising it with the department, and it is welcome the steps the Department for Communities has taken to notify individuals of the need to complete the HC1, but it is quite an onerous form and obviously may need updated each year, etc. So, as Kelly has pointed out, individuals are coming to harm. I know I've seen it in my own office, and we need to see the Department for Health bringing forward the regulations swiftly.
Okay. Thank you. Members content with that? Clerk, you content with that?
Yeah. Letter to the department and to the Committee for Health.
Yeah, Committee for Health, I think it's key there, yeah. Any other comments, members? And therefore, apart from that, our members therefore content to action. The correspondence is outlined in the memo.
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Forward work programme then, members, a copy of which is at page 56. We will soon go into our planning session, and no doubt the work programme will be fuller by the end of that session, I have no doubt, but also will be more strategically sort of set out in relation to members' priorities. Do members have any comments on the work programme, given we are going into the session on that? Yes, go ahead.
Could I just ask then, the week commencing the 13th of May piece, there's other committee events that are listed on that for, obviously that's for next time, so it might come in under the date, time and place of next meeting, but it's just for details. There's an informal committee meeting with the UN Special Rapporteur and lunch with the delegation, just to get timings for those to make sure that we're available. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good,
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair.
Sean, go ahead.
I've been struggling with my computer since I got in, so I've just missed the correspondence. It is something we can bring up in the planning session, but I've received correspondence as the Arts All-Party Group Chair that the arts sector and the Arts Council would really like to brief the committee. I've asked them to communicate with yourself, Chair, formally, but that came through to me yesterday on the back of the Arts Council's launch of their 10-year plan strategy.
Thank you. Any other comments on the forward work programme, members? Members content to note?
Agreed.
Yeah, thank you. Members, agenda item 8 then, members, any other business? Do committee members have any other business you want to raise today? No? Well then, so we'll move on to date, time and location of our next meeting. The next meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday, 16th of May 2024 in room 29, Parliament Buildings. And members, we'll now take a short comfort break before commencing the planning session. And if I could ask that we're taken out of broadcasting, please.